Sci-Fi Surprise continues with film 34, Hercules and the Tyrants of Babylon. Alright, two guesses on if Hercules and the Tyrants of Babylon is a science fiction movie. That's right, it is not! There is no science fiction elements in this film whatsoever, so I'm continuing the Sci-Fi Surprise Series, watching all 50 films in this science fiction collection, and there, you know, I knew when I picked this one, what are the chances that there's going to be science fiction elements? There's not. So, with the exception of the fact that Hercules has superhuman strength, well, he's a demigod, so I don't know. I wonder in terms of all the demigods if he's like super demigod or just like regular demigod. I think he's a demigod. Now I'm trying to remember. I think so. I think that's right. Anyway, so, you know, no big surprise there. Har har. This is from 1964 and it's an Italian film. It's one of the, there's 4 Hercules films in this collection. This is the second that I've seen. There's also The Giants of Rome, which has a Hercules character, and I'm pretty sure The Son of Hercules, yada yada, I don't remember the rest of the title, it's also a Hercules-ish film. That being said, it's a Sword and Sandals movie, and I really like Sword and Sandals movies. This one's a bit more sort of revolution-oriented and like the evil. There's a trio of siblings, 2 brothers and a sister, who are the Tyrants of Babylon, and another guy, too. So, like, you know, not science fiction, but then just looking at the film as a whole, you know, it's actually a pretty good movie. It's got a pretty interesting story where Hercules, like, comes in and saves the day, versus, like, there's all these slaves that are being taken to both Babylon and somewhere else, and the 2 sort of places where they have all these slaves, and Hercules intervenes and, you know, tries to and fights off the people that are escorting them so that they actually never show them being free after that, but, you know, that's sort of the idea, that he keeps interrupting the evilness of the Tyrants of Babylon. And then this sort of romantic theme comes in, where Hercules is in love with the queen of Helena. I think that's right. It's hard. This is dubbed, so sometimes it took me a while to even understand who the character was, or if it was the character's name. Helena was the character's name, but I think it's the Queen of Helena, or the Queen of Helens. Is Hercules' love. She is captured, but none of the tyrants know which of these thousands of women is the queen, and they sort of try and, so that's the story. Both Hercules and all of the evil people are trying to find out who is the queen, so that they can, well, Hercules loves her, so that's why he wants to find her, and everyone else wants to take her power, or, you know, or marry her, or whatever, like those things. So overall, I actually thought it was a pretty solid film. You know, it's not funny. You know, a lot of these movies have lots of comedic elements that are just really fun to watch, intentional or unintentional, but there wasn't really any of that, with the exception of some of the fighting, because Hercules has this big club, like this huge club that he just like throws at people and they like fall off horses. So some of that stuff is pretty funny, but some of the other fighting is actually pretty good. So it's definitely not like it's a B movie in the sense that we think of it now as a B movie, but at the time, I don't even know. Like, there is a huge cast, there's tons of slaves, there's a huge amount of, like, guys on horses, and some of the action scenes are more sort of close quarters, but there's a massive cast in this one, so I don't think at the time it would even have been a low or lower budget film, so that's kind of weird. And then the acting, especially in these movies, what I always like is the amazingly glamorous, dramatic, sexy Italian women. Like, they're just so amazing, and the sister of the sibling set of the tyrants is fabulous. But I'm pretty sure we're losing a little bit in the translation, and some of those scenes got cut, because you could definitely tell there were some awkward endings and beginnings. So I think there was more going on with her, and because she lures in one of the men who wants to find the queen, because she wants to sort of usurp her brother. So there's lots of politics and that kind of stuff. So it was pretty engaging, in which case sometimes I find that in the context of watching this series, that doesn't always work for me because I figure it won't be that complicated. I'm watching it for fun. I don't have to pay that much attention. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, someone's betraying someone and I don't know who it is and what's the other brother's name, and all like just like I wasn't paying good enough attention. So it's kind of in that sort of weird category that, not that I'm like, doing my laundry while I'm watching these. I'm not. I'm watching them, but sometimes you just you don't, like, I'm not, like, I take notes, but more for, not for the plot. More for, isn't that crazy? It's so crazy. I'm not really concerned about the plot in these. That's kind of weird. Anyway, so it was actually kind of interesting to see that this is sort of a romantic Hercules movie. That's pretty unusual. Although, it's funny because we have 2 Hercules movies coming out next year. One with Kellen Lutz, Hercules, The Legend Begins, and that is actually seems very similar to this story, is that he is trying to find the woman he loves. And I'm like, I never think of Hercules as a romantic character. He's someone who always can accomplish these amazing feats. So it's weird. And then we also, the other movie next year is Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson as Hercules, and it's just called Hercules, I think. So, and I don't know anything about that one. I just remember him talking about it on Facebook. and then it was finally done filming so he could get off of his crazy diet. That's what I know about that one. So anyway, back to Hercules and the Tyrants of Babylon. So, overall, it was a pretty solid film. I definitely missed some of the plot, for sure. The only thing I would say, other than the fact that it's not science fiction, that was a little off-putting, is that there is this weird Morse code clicking sound throughout sort of the second half of the film. And I really thought, like, maybe it was something in the house or something, but I paused the movie and it stopped a couple times, and so that was pretty annoying and a little unnerving. And, I always think of that one Star Trek Next Generation episode with the clicking sound, and that always freaks me out. So anyway, out of all of these films, all of them have been watchable. There's never been anything that detracted from my enjoyment of the film. Usually the weird color, deterioration and stuff like that is just sort of charming. Sometimes there's obviously cut scenes, so that, I don't usually like that, but I think it's sort of like in this case, it was probably like a racy scene, so they cut it, that kind of thing. I don't know. Some of the other ones have been the case, and it's sort of this ilk, so I'm assuming. But when the audio is like that, that was a little harder to sit through, and a little harder to have my attention engaged, because it's just. So, yeah, it's funny. The visual stuff, whatever, no problem. Something wrong with the audio, that's gonna, because it's just sort of light, and, like I didn't know if that's where it was coming from and stuff. So that would make me, hesitate from rewatching it, especially since I only noticed it in the second half of the film. I don't know if it was in the first half of the film, but I certainly only noticed it in the second half, and by that point, you're, like, pretty, like, in there, so. Anyway, so not science fiction, but actually, pretty solid movie, so that puts it in a really weird place. I would say I probably did like it's hard, because the other one I've seen so far is Giants of Rome, which I also quite enjoyed, and then Hercules versus the Moon Men, which is not as good a film, but it definitely is science fiction. Well, it's arguably science fiction. So they all feel very different from each other. So I feel like you can't even rate them against each other because they don't have the same parameters. That being said, let's see what's next. Really getting down there. Wow, there is not that many left. Okay. Let's see. One near the bottom, if there is a bottom. It's that one. That's the one. Uh-oh. That was not a ploy. And, oh my god, look at that! Hercules and the Captain Women! I can't get away from Hercules movies! Well, I certainly won't need to do a marathon of Hercules movies for the Hercules movies that come out next year, because I will have already seen them all, other than the Lou Ferrigno one, which I actually did rewatch for my Sword and Sandals marathon a couple years ago for Clash of the Titans, and wow, some movies from childhood should never be revisited, because I think I didn't even review it because it was so bad. Anyway, this is from 1961, and it stars Reg Park, and totally different actor, yet again. Also, I would have to say the guy that played Hercules in this was actually quite good. You know, he's really big, you know, and that tends to be just sort of the parameter for Hercules characters, is that they're, you know, big and strappy, and they can, like, you know, move great big things. Yeah, so he was. It's weird because the Giants of Rome one, such a smaller character, and the Moonman Hercules was such a long time ago now. Can't quite. Not that I'm reading Hercules versus Hercules. He was a great Hercules, and that's really all that matters. So, all right, I will be back with Hercules and the Captive Women. Wow, the chances of that not having gender crap are like almost nil, eh? So, I will get through them before the end of the year. I will. That's my plan. Thanks for watching.